Hello dear viewers, a very warm welcome to our channel. It's very good to have you here. In this video we are going to have a look at how to measure voltage drop on the ground connection and voltage drop at the positive battery connection. You see here we have the battery negative and right here we have the battery positive. Now in order to figure out whether this connection between the battery terminal post and the connector from the cable is good, you can do a voltage drop test. And the other thing you can do in order to figure out if this connection between the battery negative cable and the engine block is good, you can also do a voltage drop test. Same thing you can do for a positive battery line. You can see if this connection is nice or not. And also you can test to see if this battery positive is connected with less resistance to terminal 30 of the starter motor. That is a voltage drop test. Now on this positive side, there should be zero drop. Positive should be 12 volt, full entire volt should be supplied to the starter motor. But in reality, there is always some voltage drop at the connection right here and inside the battery cable as well. Now we are going to see how to measure those drops. The measure drop between the battery terminal post and the connector. You can measure voltage drop from the battery terminal post to terminal 30 of the starter motor to find the total voltage drop, or you can connect the multimeter to this connector and measure to terminal 30 volt in order to figure out what is dropping on the line as well. You can do the same for the ground terminal as well. And whenever you are doing this test, make sure that the battery is fully charged so that you will be able to crank and you will be able to send the maximum amount of current through the wiring, and that you can find exactly how much the voltage drop is. Now in order to perform the battery drop test, you need to have a multimeter and put it on DC volt. Put it on DC volt lower setting. Always prefer lowest setting. For the negative battery terminal, we normally expect zero voltage drop, but sometimes it might have some drop, and the voltage drop should not be more than 200 millivolt. And for the positive side, it should not be more than 500 millivolt. Now voltage drop when measuring, simply connect your multimeter lead and apply the largest load possible. For this engine, for example, the largest possible load is the starter motor. So we are going to apply the starter motor to see if the voltage drop exceeds the recommended value or not. Let's begin from measuring the voltage drop between this negative terminal and the connector, for example. In order to do that, simply grab your multimeter lead, make sure the voltmeter is reading nicely, and once you pick up the multimeter lead, connect one lead to the battery terminal right here, and then connect the other to the negative terminal like this, and then crank the engine. If you find a negative reading on the value, it doesn't mean anything. It only indicates the multimeter reads are connected in reverse. That doesn't really affect the reading. Now let's go ahead and install this right here. Put it right here, and then crank the engine. The actual measurement is when we crank. Now it is reading 0.1 millivolt. Now let's go ahead and crank and see how much reading we will have. Now it is reading 0. Let's go ahead and crank. As you can see, we have read 7.5 millivolt. This is very acceptable reading. It indicates there is nice connection between this terminal post and the negative of the battery connector. So if there is good connection, as you can see, we have found 7.5 millivolt. Now the total voltage drop on the ground line should not exceed 200 millivolt. In order to measure the total voltage drop, let's place one multimeter read on here and the other on engine block. And I will do the cranking. Let's place one here and one on the engine block. Let's place the negative on the engine block. Right here is where the battery negative is connected to the engine. Here is the clutch housing from the engine. So let me go ahead and connect this multimeter on a clean surface. Put it in any of these. Right here there is a hole. So that is an aluminum, very good conductor. So let's place it right here. It's connected to the negative. It will test the resistance and voltage drop in this value. So you can see connection is a little dirty, so we might expect a little high voltage drop at the negative. Let's go ahead and test. It should not be greater than 200 millivolt. If it is greater than 200 millivolt, it means this connection and all this has to be refined, it has to be cleaned, and it has to be well connected. Let's put some tension on here so that it connects nicely and do the test. Make sure that you find a nice ground. I have placed it on the engine block. Let's go ahead and crank and see the total drop. Total drop is very much increased. Let's do it again. Now it is reading 1.6. Don't mind this reading. Let's do the cranking. It's reading somewhere around 300 and 200. This indicates there is excessive voltage drop between the battery negative terminal and the body ground. It indicates that this cable, the cable going to the battery negative from the engine body, has too much resistance. This indicates either there is resistance at these connection points or there is resistance at the where the cable is connected to the engine body. Now let's go ahead and do a similar test for the battery positive. The battery positive test. In order to do the battery positive connection, we can place one multimeter on the terminal post, the other on the connector. And we do cranking as well. Now it is reading 0.1. Let's go ahead and crank. It is reading a maximum of 10 millivolt, nearly 10 millivolt. That indicates there is nice connection between this terminal and the battery post. Now let's go ahead and measure voltage drop between this battery positive and terminal 30 of the starter motor to figure out if the connection is nice or not. Let me place one multimeter right here and then place the other multimeter lead at terminal 30 of the starter motor. Have it connected snugly and keep it hold. It will be a good idea if you have alligator clips. Right here is the terminal 30 of the starter motor. So this will test the positive wiring. Now I have connected this multimeter into here, placed it very nicely, and then I will keep tension on the wire so that it will have a nice connection at the battery positive. Connected. Now let's go ahead and crank. Let's go ahead and crank. It's reading 400. Let's go ahead and do it again. Yeah. 480 something, close to 480. So now we have confirmed the voltage drop between the positive line and the negative line. If you find maximum reading is beyond what is expected, if you find out the maximum reading is beyond the normal, you can go ahead and do the test gradually from the battery positive from the terminal. You can go ahead and trace where the problem is until you reach terminal 30 of the battery for the positive side. And for the negative side also, you can go ahead and do similar test from the engine chassis to the engine block and to the negative battery cable. By doing so, you can figure out what is actually causing the voltage drop. Usually voltage drop is caused by poor connection at these intersections. If there is some poor connection right here, that has to be cleaned, that has to be dry, and that has to be well connected. So that is how you can perform a voltage drop test. Voltage drop is very critical, especially if you find excessive voltage drop on the negative side. That can cause the electrical system to malfunction and behave erratically. There are different indications. For example, gauges might start acting irrationally, they might start acting abnormally, or engine might start acting abnormally. If the negative ground for the ECU is not correct, the ECU will start receiving incorrect voltage signal. The voltage signal that is taken from the negative is used as a reference for the ECU. If that reference is interrupted due to voltage drop somewhere in the system, that can cause the ECU to miscalculate air-fuel ratio and miscalculate spark timing. All those things can lead to abnormal running of the engine. So it's very crucial that you have minimum voltage drop at the connections and inside the battery cables. So this is how you can perform battery voltage drop on the positive line and on the negative line. That is all we have for you in this video. If you enjoy what has been presented, please do smash the like button. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing, turn on notifications so that you will be the first to get notified whenever we come up with another video of this kind. And until then, stay safe.